You know, this life isn't as black and white, all good and bad, right and wrong, as we tend to think. It's complex, and we're all just humans trying to make sense of it. So, if you're wanting more unity and love in this world, and are ready to step into curiosity, then join me, Bryn Erickson, on Middle Ground. And if you're willing, please leave your biases and preconceived outcomes at the door. All right, I have Kim and Tucker Garrett here with me tonight, and they're going to share their beautiful story of how they have transitioned from a same-faith marriage to a mixed-faith marriage. And
yes,
it is an awesome story, so we are honored to have them with us tonight. How you guys feeling about sharing your story?
great.
Good. Yeah, it's fine. It's honestly, it makes me a little anxious, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with it. So
Okay.
I talk a lot about it with other people. So
And I do not.
Well,
Well, that's not.
Well, everyone is about to hear it and benefit from it. So thank you for your vulnerability and willingness, even with the feelings of discomfort. That's awesome. It means growth, right?
yeah,
That's what they say.
That's what they say. So let's put it to the test. Okay, Tucker, you distanced yourself from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in about 2019. What
Mhm.
was your relationship with the church like up to that point?
Until then, it was it was the center of my entire universe. It defined everything around me and everything I thought about anything I could see. I mean, I tried very hard to be the quote unquote perfect member of the church, like, you know, doing my home teaching, going to almost all my meetings, you know, like,
Yeah.
never missing church, not going out to eat on Sundays, like everything about it. Like, I was the guy who, like, I was scared to not be in my garments. Like, I thought that it was, like, so important that if I wasn't wearing them, like, that would be a problem. And yeah, it was like, looking back on it, it was a combination of, like, deep, fervent faith and, like, honestly, like, now looking back, the garment piece, for example, it's like, and a mix of superstition that, like, stemmed out of that. But
Yeah.
I, like, literally read my scriptures every single night, like, never missed. Yeah, it was everything.
And Kim, what about you? What was your upbringing like?
yeah. So I grew up in a very strong, member home, but I definitely did not have that same. Tucker very much was like striving for perfection, like whether or not I think he would admit it, like that's
No, I definitely, like, that was known to me.
right.
Yeah.
He was like, he felt bad if he wasn't perfect all the time. And I did not feel that way. I just felt very like, I don't want to use the word nuanced because I feel like that maybe didn't describe it, but I was a lot more like chill, like, oh yeah, Jesus loves us all. We're all just doing our best. I loved Young Women's. I went to all my activities because that's where my best friends were. And I really loved the church and it was a big part of my life, but I don't feel like it defined me in the same way. I've always been a lot more lax about it than Tucker was. Like, even when we got married, he was the one that made sure we read scriptures every night and prayed every night, where I only did that when I felt like it,
You weren't studying Preach My Gospel just for fun?
No.
As a non-missionary?
Who does that?
Some
My
people
dad
do.
probably
They end
does.
up leaving
There
the
are plenty
church.
of people that do. Yes, they're so awesome. So I'm curious, though, because obviously we all lived the same religion. We probably watched General Conference on the same Sundays and whatnot. So why do you think you two had such different experiences of internalizing the same messaging? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. And it is something we talk about a lot. We'll joke about how, like, even though, like you say, growing up in the same religion, we joke about how we grew up in different churches. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of factors. One would be, like, our home structure. Like, my family, like, we both come from very faithful, like, ideal LDS parents. But they just apply things in different ways. And I think part of it has to do with our individual personalities.
Yeah.
And I like, I kind of joke about how like you can tell when someone was raised in like a McConkie religion or a Hinckley religion. Like even though they're technically the same, they're vastly different. So and
Can you
like
expound on that a little bit? What do you mean by that?
yeah, I mean McConkie's the Old Testament and Hinckley's the New Testament. That's like the easy way to say it. Like
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I was reading books all the time, like things written by general authorities, and like reading Talmage constantly.
Wow.
And I think that the people who internalize those books from older general authorities are going to look at the world through a different lens than those who don't. And that's not to say one's better than the other.
Yeah.
I think though that there was a very old school, there's one way to do things mentality that you get from older general authorities and their books.
Yeah, that's valid. Thank you. That's great perspective. What do you think, Kim?
I mean, I feel like my family, like my dad, my parents really, their whole thing was kindness. Like, are you being kind? Are you being Christ-like? And so I felt like there was a lot less push on like, are you doing all these things? It was like, are you a good friend? Are you doing your best at school? Things like that. So I always just kind of felt like my spirituality was not based on sinning or not sinning or this or that. It just was, I don't know, it just was different. I can't really describe it, but it just felt maybe lighter, like it was more chill. I don't know. We didn't do...
Not like a do or die or
yes,
do
right.
or doomed kind of mentality.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tucker definitely had that feeling. And I never once had this thought of like, oh, I'm going to hell if I did something. It was always like, oh, I can repent. That's why I have a savior. It just felt a lot less scary, I guess. And still feels that way for me.
Okay. Awesome. So what was it that particularly launched your faith journey? Was there a pivotal moment? What was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, like anybody else, there's the analogy of having, you put items on your shelf and it breaks eventually. And so there were always things that confused me or I would feel cognitive dissonance about, but was able to shrug it off. And that would come and go, and some things might weigh heavier than others. But for me, I remember really the thing that kind of pushed me off was, I think it was like 2019, in Come Follow Me, they made a subtle change that was like, it was announced through like the newspapers in Utah. It wasn't even announced through the church. Yeah. That, the teaching about where dark skin came from, there was a quote in there from a general authority in the published Preach My Gospel about dark skin being a curse. And, like it was just saying what the Book of Mormon says. And that's a place where I feel like it says it very plainly. And then people will say like, well, that's not what it means. It's like, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, don't tell me it's not a duck. Okay. And it bothered me that the church didn't make this huge change publicly, that it was like through the Utah newspapers and then it just kind of spread. But it bothered me even more, even though I like the change better than the teaching that dark skin is a curse. I like not teaching that idea. But even though I much prefer that messaging, it bothered me that they changed it because you have 100 years of precedence of teaching this idea. It's published in the important document that, is the keystone of the religion. Okay. And to me, it was like, well, if they're wrong about that, or if they can just change that because it's no longer culturally acceptable, what else are they wrong about? And it helped me to look closer at like, all right, if we look at like polygamy, blacks in the priesthood, like the relationship with the LGBTQ community, like all these big shifts in the church always come after big social pushes instead of leading the way on social change. And that change was very much a like, how many times can they be wrong before I just admit to myself that they're wrong?
Those are good thoughts. Kim, anything you want to add?
I mean, Tucker and I have had these conversations lots of times, and you know, when all of this first started, it was very like, almost like Tucker, you weren't accusing me, but the conversations were very heated, and it was like, well, I just don't see it that same way, or it doesn't bother me in that same way. And, you know, Tucker has a lot of really strong feelings about, you know, some of those things that he listed, and, which is fine. Like, it's okay.
Yeah.
But those conversations at first were very difficult to have because I had different feelings. And some of them was that I don't understand it, and not understanding it didn't outweigh the things that I felt like I did believe in. And so, like, it was difficult for us to have those conversations, especially where there was a lot of passion and hurt feelings and things on Tucker's side, which is understandable, right? And so for me, it was, that was probably the biggest thing, was how do we navigate these conversations that feel very passionate, and, you know, and one side is hurt feelings, and on my side is, you know, something that's sacred to me and important to me. And so it was, that was hard.
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to call out. Based on what you were saying, is there was a point where, I mean, I wasn't talking to anybody but Kim about this. Like, it was me and Kim, and that was it.
I had to bear it all.
And there was a time where I was, you know, just getting these feelings out, and I was angry and hurt and frustrated, and had very big emotions. And Kim was like, you have to stop. Like, you need to remember that, like, you can feel differently about this stuff at this point, but like, this is still sacred and important to me, and the way you're talking about it doesn't take into consideration that this is sacred to me and it matters to me, and I still care about it in a different way than you do.
Yeah.
And that was, I was glad she said that, because like, I wasn't angry at Kim. I was angry at the church, and like, I can't go down, like, the church isn't an entity. I can't go to the church office building and like grab it by the collar and like, what are you doing? You know, like, there's no church I can talk to. So Kim got to be the face of my frustration, and had to deal with that.
Yeah.
And handled it well.
And I felt like that was a big moment of, you know, setting boundaries of how we were going to communicate about it. I felt like that was a really big deal for us, and I think we still carry that on. Like, we can still have conversations about the church or spiritual things and leave the conversation feeling differently from each other, but respecting each other's beliefs and allowing each other to believe what we believe.
That's a good word, allowing.
Yeah.
The other day, like 2 days ago, we were getting ready, like, we're in our bathroom, like, brushing teeth and doing hair or whatever it is, and we had what would have been an extremely uncomfortable conversation about religious beliefs, like, just in the bathroom getting ready in the morning. And it was like, oh, like, I actually think this thing is completely false and blah, blah, blah. You know, like, it wasn't angry, but like, we were just both stating, like, I believe this, and I think this is, you know, not that way. And anyway, like, but it was like, we were talking about what we're going to have for dinner. Like, it was just like, it wasn't emotional. It was just like, this is how I feel about this. Like, oh yeah, I feel differently about that.
Right.
How have you gotten to a point where it is so much easier than it was in the beginning, do you think?
A lot of therapy. And
Okay.
I think that's like, for both of us, like, and I think the therapy is partially, like, a big part of it is me being able to even think about the church without it sending me into like a depressive spiral. But also learning how to navigate, like, accepting those differences and appreciating that someone else's experience is going to be different, even if you want it to be the same or whatever. Like, yeah, we both attended therapy, and I've talked a lot.
No, I was just going to say, like, we both go to therapy individually, and we still do and have since that time. And I think that's been good because there's been, you know, conversations that I've been able to work through with a therapist before I even brought it up to Tucker. like where I can talk to a therapist and say, hey, I'm stressed about this when it comes to talking to Tucker about, this spiritual or religious thing or like the temple or whatever. And like my therapist has been able to like walk me through why I'm feeling nervous or how it might go, and then give me advice for how I can have the conversation. And then I have it with Tucker, and it always goes better than you assume it will. Right. And I think there's the therapy I think is really important, and just the foundation and groundwork of our honest and respectful communication. I think we try really hard to assume the best of each other. Like, so if someone says something not perfectly, instead of getting like up in your feelings about that, you can express, hey, when you said that really made me feel like unheard or misunderstood. And, I think it's important to own our own feelings, but continue to talk about it. Like, I'm allowed to be sad that Tucker doesn't go to church with me anymore. I'm allowed to be sad. I don't have to hide that from Tucker, but Tucker doesn't have to go to church so that I won't be sad.
And fix it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we're allowed to have these dueling emotions and have a little bit of responsibility for each other's emotions, but at the end of the day, we don't have to change what we're doing because of each other's emotions.
Yeah. That's a really good clarification, because that was like when we uncovered that bit of like, you're allowed to make your choices and I'm allowed to be sad about it, but that doesn't mean that you have to change your choices. That was like that idea. I was about to go, and then I heard fireworks in the background. Anyway, that idea like blew my mind. It was like, that had never crossed my mind before. It was shocking to me. It's like, oh, that's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We can do things that the other person's not stoked about, and that can be okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think we do that a lot. Like, and we talk about it. Like, I mentioned to Tucker when I get sad, not going to the temple with him anymore. And he talks about how he's sad that he feels like his life is still surrounded by the church, like we are allowed to voice that to each other. And I think that helps us stay vulnerable with each other and respect each other and be honest with each other, because if Tucker was pretending that everything was fine, then I wouldn't know, how I can support him or help him, and the other way around too.
Yeah, you guys said a couple of things I really loved. One, the honesty piece. Like, the other person can't read your mind. I think too often we assume that our partner should know. Like, they should know. They should understand. Like, and we don't. We're not mind readers. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing, oh shoot, I can't remember it. Maybe that was the only thing I needed to say. So being honest, that's definitely where it's at. And allowing, that's awesome. You guys have done some hard work. When did you start therapy?
It was...
you started in 2020.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think I started in 2022, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I started therapy pretty soon after my faith started transitioning, because it got pretty scary for a while there. And
he was not okay.
No, I really wasn't. And fortunately, I had several people around me who were knowledgeable enough and brave enough to call out of like, hey, like, you're saying some things that are kind of concerning, or I'm noticing this behavior in you that's a little concerning, like you should seek help. And I grew up in a world where you just grit your teeth and get through it. Like, deal with it. You have a problem, like, too bad. Suck it up and move on. And there's a time and place for that, but there's also a huge time and place for, like, your brain chemicals are off, or you've experienced trauma, and, like, gritting your teeth isn't going to help with those.
Right. And you were trying. Like, at the time, Tucker was reading book after book after book, and, like, you were kind of obsessed with this idea of finding truth. Like, he was like, I need to find the truth. Like, I need to find what is the truth. And his therapist at the time, it's not who he sees now, but it was somebody else at the time, was like, these books are going to kill you. Like, you are obsessed with this right answer, this truth, and you're never going to find it. You need to stop reading the books. You need to, and that was like a big deal to Tucker. Like, he had a lot of ways in his life at the time that he was trying to be perfect. And the therapist was like, I challenge you to like bring that down and not be perfect and let things just be, you know, and that took a lot of mindfulness, and I think you still work on it at times. But that was a big breakthrough in your therapy, I think, of the therapist saying like, hey, this is killing you, this search for truth.
I will say though, like honestly, one of my proudest moments was when he's like, you know, I see a lot of people with like religious drama in this situation, and he's like, I have never seen anyone who's more obsessed with finding the truth than you are. And I was like, I don't think you meant that as a compliment, but I definitely
I was going to say that's not a compliment.
Like, I should have a trophy for this.
That's a mental health disorder.
Most obsessed with finding the truth. I'm so proud of that.
That's amazing. And I actually want to come back to that. But before I do, what advice would you give to someone who's resistant to therapy?
Get over yourself. I mean, it's hard because it's hard because there are a lot of things we don't even want to admit to ourselves. And so it can be scary to want to admit it to another person. And, you know, there are a lot of reasons someone might not go to therapy. They might not see the value in it. They might not understand it. And I didn't understand how it was going to help me. And it's also hard because like it's hard work. Like there are lots of times you leave therapy and you're like, I feel worse than I did an hour ago because I've talked about all these hard things. But it's like diet and exercise where like if you're consistent with it, you will see progress. If you're not, you won't, and you just have to trust the process.
Yeah, it's a long-term, like the results are long-term for the most part. Like there were a few things that helped here and now, but long-term is where it's like trying to get you out of this fight or flight response. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing too is I was going to say the first therapist Tucker saw was terrible. He was like defending the church and almost fighting back against Tucker, and as Tucker tried to speak his truth and what he was struggling with, the therapist was not a good fit, and that actually caused more problems. And we were like, oh no, therapy is bad, like this is scary. And we ended up finding, you know, so definitely ask around. I think every therapist we've had, it's been because it's been a recommendation from somebody else. So talk to the people around you, someone that you feel comfortable with, and find someone with a good recommendation, and don't be afraid to say, hey, this person's not for me.
And you'll know right away if it's a good fit or not. And like, if it doesn't feel like a great fit from the beginning, find someone else. And like, I've seen a couple different therapists now, and so I've seen 3 total. First one, not great. Then the next one was great, and he was super helpful. And the therapist I'm seeing now is also great. And it was legitimately just like, I want a different perspective. Like there was nothing wrong with the one I was seeing, but we had, you know, kind of started to talk in circles to a point. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know, like I have no problems with this therapist, but maybe someone else might be able to help me see things a different way. And it's been awesome.
And I've seen my same therapist for 3 years. So I love her and hope I never have to see anyone else. Because I awesome. Great. So
I know I've decided that I need therapy the way I need a gym membership.
Mm-hmm.
Like I need to work on my mental well-being as much as I do my physical well-being.
100%.
Yep. It all kind of goes together. I mean, literally, my therapist, like one of my goals is to go to the gym. And so she'll ask me, did you go to the gym? And I'm like, I did. And she's like, good job. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, they're like an accountability coach. It's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
Yep, they can help with lots of different things.
They really can. It's awesome. So we all testify to therapy. It's great stuff. Let's go back to truth, because this is something I have thought a lot about. What have you concluded about truth, Tucker?
That's a good question.
If you've reached a conclusion, or where are you with truth? Maybe that's a lighter question.
I've come to a point where I am comfortable and happy with saying, I don't know. I definitely grew up having all the answers. And it's funny because the church teaches this, like, interesting perspective where, they talk about like, those who are learned are prideful because they think they know more or whatever. And it's like, oh, like, don't be so proud that you know more than God. And it's like, well, what's more proud? Admitting you don't know something or claiming you know everything? Like, claiming you have all the answers is way more prideful than saying like, I don't think this is right. That was like something I had to realize. I was like, oh, this isn't prideful. This is the opposite. And so like, there are things I've gotten to the point where, I definitely trust experts. There are people who know things and have experienced things that I have not and will never experience, and I should trust them. But I think credentials matter. And it's like, there are things that we can't know, and there are things that we can't prove. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not true, but I am extremely wary of someone claiming to have special information that I can't have access to. And that's different than classified information that somebody else could verify. Like there's places that people can verify things, and there are places where someone can say whatever they want and there's no way of knowing. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what faith is, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like I can't accept having, and we all experience various levels of faith in different things, but it's a huge red flag for me if someone's trying to get me to act in a certain way based on that.
Okay. Do you want to have anything you want to add to that, Kim? Do you have thoughts?
I do. I don't know. Again, this goes back to how I was raised and kind of where I'm at now. I'm just a lot more chill about it. And Tucker, like for me, it's just like, I'm very comfortable saying I don't know things. I've changed things that I believe in to now feeling like I don't necessarily believe in it. My testimony has, gone in all sorts of ways. I once talked to a stake president who we were, Tucker and I both talked to him a lot when Tucker was going through his initial crisis, and he was really supportive and awesome. We built a good relationship with him, and he asked me once where my testimony was, and I kind of started crying, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like the things I thought I knew, I don't know, and all this stuff. And he was like, you've trimmed your branches and grown your roots, and I've just always really appreciated that. And so for me, like, I just don't, it's just a lot more like fluid, and I'm like okay with the things that I know and I don't know, and I don't know. I'm just a lot more chill about it, maybe, than Tucker is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And you always have been, and I think it's a matter of like the pendulum is going to swing. So if your pendulum was only swinging this far, it continues. But if your pendulum was like way over there, it's going to swing all the way the other way.
Right.
Yeah, I keep hearing people using that analogy. I heard that analogy years ago. My aunt brought it up. She's like, it's natural for humanity to swing from one to the other, and then we gradually get down to the middle. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so how have you guys, other than therapy, is there any other ways that you've managed to stay together in your marriage, even with these differing beliefs? Honesty, therapy, anything else?
I will say, like, my counselor, my therapist who I've talked to a lot through all of this, she's just, because we've been through a lot in our marriage. I mean, on top of a faith journey, or two different religions in our home. Our son has special needs. He's had major medical things. We've moved lots of times. We've just had a lot of things in our life.
Cards are kind of stacked against us.
That could cause our marriage to crumble. And my therapist once pointed that out. She was like, Kim, I see one of these things and I worry about a marriage, and the things that you guys have dealt with, where your marriage is and how strong you guys communicate. She's like, that is what's saving your marriage. So really just that communication. I definitely, and like, this kind of goes into that, but like, I'm a sharer. I'm someone who's going to share my story and talk about it. And so I've been talking about this with my friends for a long time. They know about Tucker. They know about where he's at. And But that's something that I told Tucker. We talked about it, and I was like, hey, I don't want to feel alone in this. I'm going to talk to my friends. Is that okay? And you were like, yes.
I want you to talk to, yeah, I
Right.
didn't want you to be alone in it. And
Yeah.
I was very comfortable and okay with that. And I think that you'd mentioned intentions earlier where like we both said things that could be taken very offensively by the other person or assuming certain intents. And it's always like, I know you would never set out to do something to make me feel bad or whatever.
Right. We know we're on the same team.
Yeah. The default assumption is just always like, we're on the same team. What you said just pissed me off. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I love you, we're going to talk about this hard thing.
We've always been really good about communicating and disagreeing. Like we will vote differently on, different aspects or candidates or whatever, and we'll talk about it. It's like, oh, cool. Well, I guess I'm about to cancel out your vote, but that's okay because that's how this works. Like, and that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, there are people who like they can't handle that idea of like, oh, I can't believe my spouse would vote on A, B, or C. It's like, well, she thinks about that thing a little bit differently than I do, and that's good.
Right. We both have lived a different life, and so I feel like it makes sense that we're gonna see things differently.
Yeah. I like that we can disagree on things. I've always enjoyed like debate and things, and if you can have a healthy disagreement with someone, it's so like that's how humanity grows, and that's how the individual grows.
It's how you get to know each other too.
Yeah, and like you need different perspectives to understand things better.
Yeah.
That's awesome, you guys. So Tucker, I'm curious, how have you gotten to a point where you're not like ashamed of Kim talking to her friends about where you're at?
Yeah, I was always okay with that. Like I personally haven't talked to a lot of people about it. It's one of those things that it's like, if I could sit down and talk to the president of the church, like, let's do it, please. I would love that. Like I'm not afraid to talk to people about it, but I don't, I just try to avoid the social ramifications, I guess. And not even that people are going to like cast me out or anything. I don't know. Like, it's just things change. Like in the church, it's such a huge part of people's lives. And I get it. Like I've been there, but people treat you differently if they know that you think about the church differently than they do. Like there's a long record of that happening, and I see why that happens. People don't do it on purpose. But I mean, yeah, I just avoid the conversation altogether if I can. But if someone asks, I'm happy to talk about it. But it's I guess it's more a matter of if they're a safe person to talk to about it. Like
That's what I was going to say.
If they're going to try and convince me of something, let's not have that conversation. That's not going to be fun for either of us. But if you are curious about it and would like to understand it, I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's the big difference. I mean, at the beginning of all this, Tucker was very mentally fragile about the conversation and would have major mental breakdowns and spirals, and it was really, really difficult.
I mean, every Sunday ended up with me depressed on the bed, hating my existence.
Right.
Wow.
Thinking he was damned, like it was really, really bad. And so I think you're to the point now where you can have conversations a little bit more often, but there was a point where he couldn't even really talk about it with somebody who wasn't like very sensitive to what he was feeling.
I couldn't even, like, if General Conference was on, like, it wasn't healthy for me to be in the home. Like, I was so troubled by my relationship with my spirituality that, yeah, I was, fragile's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, another plug for therapy.
Yes, absolutely.
And for me too, like, because I had to support Tucker in that. And so for me to go to therapy was a really big deal during that time too, because I could go and talk to my therapist about, hey, I had to support Tucker for 2 hours while he had a mental breakdown in our bed and was not okay. Like that was...
And who's supporting you?
Right.
Yeah.
So that could feel really lonely to me. Right. And so it was good that I also went to therapy too. So, I mean, my therapist is the one that suggested that I talk to Tucker about not coming to church anymore, because at the time Tucker was coming to church to support me, because we have kids, and so he was trying to, not cause problems to our family and, that dynamic. And every Sunday he would come home and have a breakdown, and it would cause hours. It would pretty much ruin the rest of the day because of the mental problems that it caused Tucker. And my therapist finally was like, Kim, church is going to kill your husband. Like, you need to suggest. And we worked on that for probably a good month before I even talked to Tucker about it. So that was one of those conversations that she helped me work out my feelings through. I mean, it wasn't perfect even when I came to Tucker, but I'm the one that told him, hey, I appreciate that you were trying to support me. This is obviously harming you. So let's have you stop. And in my mind at the time, it was like, and come back eventually, right? But it's been a lot of years, and he hasn't. You do come sometimes, like if I'm speaking or there's like some event, but you've worked on in therapy to be able to support me in that way,
That's awesome. So as far as with the kids, how do you guys make decisions on raising your children?
We're lucky in that they're still young. So a lot of that's pretty easy to navigate at this point. It's like they like primary, they see their friends there. Kids bring home coloring pages that annoy me, and then that's it. It's and so I mean there is still like, when our oldest was baptized, like that one was like weeks of therapy leading up to that.
And we talked about it for a full year in advance.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And again, it's where he has a disability that also changed that dynamic itself quite a bit. Cause I was like, I don't want, like, if it were up to me, again, that's like one of those places I have strong feelings. I think where it took me until my 30s to felt like I learned more about the church to have like a informed consent about my relationship
Your
with
membership.
the church. Yeah, I was like, 8's way too young. He still believes in the tooth fairy. So like, don't tell me he understands this.
Don't blow that secret.
I was going to say, Tucker, edit this out.
What 8-year-old is listening to this? They need a different life. But like, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, what
baptism.
What that came down to was like, I didn't want him to feel left out of anything. Like, he was seeing his friends being baptized. They were talking about it. It's all they talk about for that year.
Yeah.
Which, again, I feel like is part of my point, but like, it's like, I didn't want him to be the one kid who's not, And so that was a lot of conversation between me and my therapist, and then me and Kim, and you were more on board with the idea than I was. I felt like
to not do it.
Well, no, to just a shift in perspective of like, look at it as more of like a cultural rite instead of a spiritual event. It was like,
gotcha.
Yeah.
So
he's in this culture.
Yeah. So it was like, I was
tradition,
like a cultural Mormon in that moment, Yeah. As the other children get older, I think that may be a little bit trickier. But when it comes to, specifics, I hope that the way we talk about it is healthy, and that like, we'll say like, this is what mom believes about this thing. Mom believes A, B, and C happens, or like, some other people believe this happens. And I'm hoping that if we give our kids like, this is what some people believe, and then ask them like, what do you think? Instead of informing them, this is what you believe. Yeah. Because that's really not a healthy way to have your life view, your worldview formed. Like, you think this. Like, well, what if I don't think that? No one ever asked me.
Yeah, it doesn't allow you to make decisions based upon your agency. So, that's awesome. Are there any special experiences or insights that you've gained and you want to leave with us?
I feel like I've talked a lot. I have some, but you can... I'm talking a lot.
I would just say for me, like, as the spouse who still believes in, the church's teachings, obviously the like idea of like eternal families and what does that look like? Like that was a really difficult concept to kind of figure out for me on my end. And I did have a really spiritual experience that I've felt very called to share with people, where I remember just feeling very overwhelmed. It was probably 4 months. It was like still new, but it wasn't like super new. It was like, and just feeling very much like this is it. Like I'm never going to get out of this darkness. Like our family's ruined. Like, what are we going to do? It just felt very heavy and dark, and exhausting, and I just felt really burdened with worry and everything. And I got on my knees and prayed, which is not something, again, I'm very chill. I don't do that very often. I pray in my car. I pray while I'm doing things, but like I got on my knees and I prayed and I just cried and I just sobbed and I was like, what am I supposed to do? How do I fix Tucker? How do I, this or that, like all these different things where I was saying. And as clear as day, I was told, do you trust that I am God? And for me, that was just, in my belief in God, in my belief in an atonement, I felt immediate peace and comfort in knowing that I don't need to worry. God is powerful enough to save my family. God is powerful enough to, he knows, because of our Savior's atonement, I believe that he knows Tucker and knows everything he's been through and knows, his mental health struggles and if that ends up being how it works in the end, I'm not worried about him. Like I have come to feel peace that I don't need to worry about Tucker's salvation. He's going to be okay. My family's going to be okay. If heaven is a happy place, Tucker will be a part of that. And so it's not always perfect. Yeah. I mean, I still worry at times or things creep in or whatever, but just trusting that God's power is well beyond what I can even know or comprehend. There's no point in wasting my life worrying about it. And yes. I heard once that you can't fully love someone you're trying to change. And so for me, I can just love him. I can love anybody, no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing. I just show them love and give them the respect to do what they feel like is best for their life, because they know themselves and they know their situation, and it's not up to me to fix or change or be in charge of. So
thanks, Kim. What else, Tucker?
Yeah, and I've learned through this that if myself, or I'm going to assume of other people as well, if we are judging somebody, it probably means we have we haven't experienced what they're dealing with. Like, judgment is a sign of ignorance. Sometimes you go through things and you judge people because you're like, I've been through that. It's not that bad, or whatever. But yeah. there's also the we haven't been through what they've been through, because they have an entire different lives than
I'm not you.
Yeah, there are different circumstances that affect things, and it's really easy to tell in church when people make comments about people who have shifted their religious views. It's so easy to tell who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. It's like, all right, well, you've never come close to experiencing this, or you would never say it that way, or whatever,
or have a close family member,
you just have no clue. It's easy to say, oh, they just wanted to sin. It's like, well, no, they really wanted it to be true, is what they actually wanted, and they were really bummed when they
lot of work.
felt otherwise. And so it's the same, it's like, if we're judgmental about someone's whatever it is, I won't say any specifics because that could be harsh, but it just means that you don't know what it's like. So I've tried to be less judgmental, because I used to judge people really harshly because I was so fervent and confident in my beliefs. And it's like, oh man, I know I've said things to and about people that were just not even close to accurate because how I thought about my religious beliefs. So, yeah, if you're judging someone, it probably just means you don't know.
Yeah.
How can we get to know then?
Ask them. And yeah, like if we could have better, curious conversations. I read this really cool book that was about understanding people with different, it was more of like it was a political book, but like understanding people with different political views. And it was saying like, when it comes down to it, most of us have the same goals about things, like people who want safety. Some people think not having guns is a way to stay safe, and some people think having guns is the way to stay safe. It's like two sides of an argument actually have the same goal in mind. They just approach it differently. Yeah. And so like, if we can find that with people, like when it comes down to it, I think the vast majority of us just want the world to be better. And we just have different ways of how we're trying to do that.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. Like there's an underlying value that we're all striving to achieve.
Yeah. I think that was big for us too, like in our marriage, was kind of breaking it down to like not what the church teaches or whatever, but like what do we value? What are our standards? So that we had things that we still related on spiritually, instead of finding the differences. So I think that's a good way in your marriage or in any relationship to find middle ground.
Hey. And I think like the value itself, I mean, that's one thing that I guess another thing I've learned, I've really enjoyed not having beliefs handed down to me, because I now have to think about and back up anything I say. It used to be like, well, I don't agree with gay marriage because the prophet said it's bad, even though deep in my heart, I didn't care. I was like, I don't have an issue with that thing, but the prophet says it's bad, so it's bad, And now, like, I don't have any scapegoats. Like, whatever beliefs or ideas I have, like, I can't say, well, that's what Spencer W. Kimball said. It's like, well, what do I think? And I have to wrestle with those things before I get an opinion.
It's hard work. But it's work worth doing. Yeah. Well, you guys, this is powerful, powerful stuff. Thank you so much for sharing. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Happy to share.
Appreciate it. Hopefully it helps someone, and I think what you're doing is important.
Oh, thank you guys for your support. Have a great night. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
Before you go, if this episode resonated with you, or perhaps someone came to mind that you could share it with, if you wouldn't mind sharing, that would be amazing. Or you can leave a review or follow the Middle Ground podcast. All of these things will help the algorithm, because that is a real thing, allow people to find my podcasting community so much easier, and is essential for the growth of this podcast, and I would appreciate it so much. So remember, stay curious, spread love, and I hope you have an amazing day, evening, wherever you are, whatever you are doing.